Hi, everybody. Oh, this is a big Tuesday night book club. Oh my gosh, we're all so excited because tonight it's the debut of our March book, The Cicada Tree with Robert Gwaltney. I feel like this is a mini book club convention. We have so many people on board, and I'm so thrilled that everybody has come. We even have Suzanne Cicada here all the way from Japan. I mean, we're from coast to coast. Here comes Susan Wingate. More and more people are jumping on board. So welcome to everyone. I am reporting from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law, here in East Texas. And maybe if we have time at the end, we'll go around and tell everybody where you're from. But tonight, Robert is here, and I'm wearing in honor of Robert's The Cicada Tree. He sent me this beautiful hairpin of a cicada, and I made my eyeshadow match. For you, Robert, and I even my clothes, they all match. So here we are. Can you see everybody?
I can see everyone.
Okay. Well,
Susan, and I just sent Grace Salmon the link. She just messaged me, so she should be on in a second too.
Okay, for everybody who's out there, just remember, it's the same link. Copy it, paste it, put it somewhere. It's the same link every Tuesday night. So I just hope that you all will find it next week when we have our next author up on the list. I'm looking at my books over here. Oh, it's Judith Tillman with A Guest House for Ganesha, which is our international book of the month. So I'm very excited about that. And then we've got looks like What Seems True by James Garrison and Wayland by Rita Quillen. So we got a big lineup for March. Mandy got the Reading Nation magazine out. And before we start talking, we wanted everybody, if you have your book, hold it up because we want to get a photo of everybody who's got the book.
Mine is an ebook.
Oh, well, just go eat.
I
I don't know what to do with an ebook. I've got to get this to phone. I'm sorry, I don't have it on the right. It's not recognizing my face image. I guess this new hairdo threw everybody off. Okay, I'm going to take a photo of us all. Let me get back to gallery view. It's point of view, and I'm trying to get everybody, but I'm holding up my book so we can show everybody this beautiful, what a great cover, huh? It's
Smile,
really
Robert.
And we are excited, and we want to know how many of you have got a chance to read the book before?
Part of
Oh my God.
not all of it. I'm in school, but not all of it. It's amazing though.
So even if
188.
you read part of it, raise your hand. Wow.
Page 188.
That's
So good.
fantastic news. So we want to open it up to all of the readers first and share just a little bit of your, a comment or two or a question about the book. And you can just speak up or raise your hand, whatever you want to do.
Well, all I can say is, Robert, I loved it, loved it, loved it. And I just had to laugh. I was kind of finishing it this afternoon, and I got to the part where they're getting ready to do the recital or the competition. And she said, Etta Mae hugged me like the lid of a canning jar.
That's pretty tight. That's a pretty tight hug. I love it. I love it. Yeah, Sarah.
Oh, hi. I just found this an amazing novel, and I can't believe it's a debut novel. It's so lush and the writing is so beautiful. And it took me back because when I was a little girl, I visited my family in Georgia. My dad's from there. And I just felt I was transported back there by all the sensual detail in this novel. So beautiful. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you so much. And Sarah was so sweet. She read it. She reached out to me. She posted reviews. I mean, it's just heartwarming that when people will take the time to do that. So thank you, Sarah. It was a lovely review.
Isn't it wonderful when we do that for each other? My heart is singing tonight for Robert. Thank you, everybody. And I saw somebody else raise their
So
hand.
Jacob's got his hand up.
Oh, Jacob.
Hey, Robert, I had a question for you. Where did you get your inspiration for your characters in your debut novel?
So the novel actually started off as a different novel. Some years ago, I started to write a novel that was going to take place in 1970. And the protagonist was a little boy who was 11. And his mother was Annalise Newell. And she just started to sing to me on the page. I was so fascinated with her. And I just began to wonder what she might have been like as a child. And it was when I began to ask her those questions that the Cicada tree came to be. And the novel is predominantly female. The men play a minor role. They take a back seat. And I think really what inspired those characters really, it's a love letter to the Southern women I've known in my life. My mom, my aunts, my grandmother, childhood friends. I've just always been, I've always felt emotionally connected to women. I've always been fascinated by them. When I was a little boy, I would linger in the kitchen at family gatherings where the women would congregate, and I would listen. I would eavesdrop on my mother's garden club gatherings. So I was just always intrigued with the dynamics between women. So Jacob, that was probably a long answer to your question, but that's sort of how the novel came to be, and really what inspired the female characters in the book.
Well, I know Susan Wingate has her hand up. Does anybody else? Susan? Okay.
Hi, Susan.
Let's do Susan, TK, and then Claire. Okay, Susan first. Okay.
Okay, so Robert, you said, and this is your debut novel. I'm just impressed because normally it takes, several novels to really get to the level of writing that you are. And so I just wanted to say that I think that this is one of the most impressive writing feats I've ever read. Now, also, I just want to let you know that I've only just started it because I'm just finishing up. This is the last week for the MFA program. So I'm just finishing up the MFA program. So I'm going to be reading it over the next 2 weeks. I have 3 books that I've promised people that I would read, and I can't wait to read yours. What I found amazing, first of all, we're always taught how you're supposed to drag the reader in with that first line, and you do that so well. A storm was coming, but then it's almost immediate where that as a writer, I was like, that's fabulous. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that is the most spectacular beginning. But as soon as you get past that, knowledge that, oh, this is, I'm being pulled into a story, it's seamless. It's like you've hooked the reader so completely and so effortlessly that it's just a pleasure to read. How much writing have you done? Because this just doesn't feel like a first novel. It's just spectacular.
Thank you. Well, and congratulations on almost being done with your MFA. That's impressive. And that's exciting. So I've always dabbled in writing. When I was a little boy, short stories, poems. I took some writing classes in college. I didn't seriously begin to write until maybe 15, 17 years ago. I always felt like it was something that I wanted to do. I felt like I had stories in me. And then I just had this sense of urgency as I was getting older. I thought, well, if I don't begin to do it now, it's just never going to happen. So within the last 15 to 17 years, I've written, I've taken it very seriously. I put myself on a schedule. I joined the Atlanta Writers Club. I joined a critique group. I think I've got some of my, we've got Nikki Dubrow on, and I think Jeff Blocker is here. And I've known Jeff the longest. He and I have written together for over a decade. And so it's short stories, a couple of start and stops with other novels, and then the Cicada Tree.
I'm impressed.
You know, if
I didn't get, I remember the exact moment, and I think Jeff Blocker knows that exact moment when I figured out what my voice was. I was writing I'd written chapter scene with Annalise in the first novel when she was an adult. And there was this moment where she was walking down a staircase in a home that she didn't feel connected to. And it's that exact moment, because I thought that I wanted to be a humorous writer, and come to find out I excel in the melancholy, and I'm very happy in those dark places. Isn't that odd to be happy in dark places? But that's where I'm happiest, on the page. And I can sustain brief moments of humor, but I certainly can't for extended periods of time.
Well, it's just spectacular. Thank you for writing it.
Well, thank you, Susan. I appreciate you reading it. You're a busy lady.
Yeah.
I think
Everybody's
TK, Thorne, Teresa.
Yeah. I just have started it too, Robert, and I've already told you that I just think you're an amazing poet. My goodness, it's so beautifully written, but on top of that, the characters are so well formed, and I love them all. I was just wondering if you miss them.
Yes. So, and they're with me all the time still. Going through edits, so that there's an epilogue in the novel that's come out that wasn't original. And when I was going through edits, I mean, I felt like for some time, because the last chapter ends in a dark place, which Gothic novels do. But I felt like the novel needed a few extra beats. And so I spoke to the publisher, I drafted something, and I put it before them and asked, would they consider an epilogue? And they read it, and they liked it, and they thought that it would work well. And it was during that process where I thought I knew what I wanted to write next, a novel with the working title In That Quiet Earth. But I began to, writing that epilogue was such an emotional experience for me. It was just a very weepy process. And I wondered maybe what the girls would be like 3 years into the future when Annalise is 14. So I have an idea how to write a follow-up book. I'm thinking, so I think that's what I'm going to do next. Which I didn't think I was going to do, because everyone would ask you, would there be a prequel? Would there be a sequel? I'm like, absolutely not. And now I do think I kind of want to know what happens next.
Well,
We
I
do.
hope it's wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
And Claire,
I have to
Fullerton?
tell you, oh, I'm sorry.
If everybody will click the hand thing, I can grab you and spotlight you.
Yeah.
I miss that.
How do
Claire
you
was
do that?
next.
Okay,
Reaction.
Robert, I think that you are a master of the unexpected simile. I applaud you for it. I mean, I was reading it the first time I read the advanced review copy and thought the creativity is absolutely outlandish, refreshingly outlandish. And I think that you have to have a certain level of intelligence to make connections that are unexpected, but they all work. And I remember once I realized that that's what you were doing, I just got excited every single time I saw it again. And you did it very consistently. I also applaud that you were fearless and firmly committed to the entire, Southern Gothic and magical realism, so much so that it worked all the way through because you were committed. And then the last thing I'll say is 3 words. I said them to you before, I'm going to say it again: instant cult classic.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Claire read, I wouldn't be here tonight on this call if it were not for Claire Fullerton, who introduced me to the Pulpwood Queens. So thank you, Claire. And thank you for supporting me. Thank you for reading the novel. And thank you for liking it.
We love
Me-
it. Go ahead,
I
Ruth.
don't, oh, good. Well, if you can believe this, I have read it twice. I read it through and I was reading it so slowly because I was like relishing every single beat. That's what I just want to say. It's like beat by beat by beat. Someone says something and then the camera kind of goes internal to what they're thinking, and then so I had to read it again because I wanted to get more of the flow of it, because I was working at enjoying it so much the first time. But I want to say I'm so glad you did the epilogue, because I did want to know more about Marlissa and what became of her, very much so. And I wanted to see also, oh, I can't do any spoilers. So I do have a question. So
Mhm.
how did the cicadas come? I mean, there were elements of this that though it was Southern Gothic, it has so many other genres that are playing in it at the same time, I think. And there were moments where it was like I was in a Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds. The cicadas kind of had a quality of watching the birds happen at the same time. So I'm so interested. I understand all the metaphors you were able to draw from them, but how did they come to you as
Right.
that had to be it?
Well, I think that, well, I remember a summer when I was a boy in the 70s when there was just a brood of the cicadas that came through, and I was so fascinated with them, and that always stuck with me. They were everywhere. Of course, there's cicadas every year, but I mean, we were just covered up trees, and I would pick them from, put them on myself. We would play with these cicada shells, and I remember having dreams about them and nightmares about them. And I think that when I was imagining when I was writing Annalise, I remembered that summer, and it seemed to me that I just felt connected, and that needed to be a vehicle thematically in the book.
Mm. Well, you certainly got the sensual aspects of them. So you must have had quite an intimate relationship with those cicadas and their guts and everything else. Because I was like, how did he know what they smelled like? How did they know all that stuff? But can I ask you one other quick question? And that is, it was really interesting that you said that Annalise began as an adult, in your imagination, and then you took her back to being a child. Because what I also thought was really masterful was that though we absolutely believed she was that age, that she was 10, right? 10, 11.
11. Yeah.
11. She was, the writing of her inner thoughts is extremely sophisticated as well. So where I absolutely believe she was that age. I absolutely believe she was talking to me. And yet there was such a maturity and sophistication to her, as if her older self was also inside reflecting. And because it's such a magical novel, like anything like that could happen, right?
Right. Yeah, I wanted the story to be told from, an adult Annalise looking back on that summer, because I knew that would give me an opportunity to use language the way that I wanted to. And then having to be more, I could show the childlike qualities of her through her dialogue and through her actions, but I could narrate it in an adult voice.
Well, it was fabulous.
Thank you. And I can't believe you read it twice. That's amazing.
Ironically, I always say my Pulpwood Queen Book Club selections are, the crown jewels in my tiara, and the book that they're the highest mark for me, and the highest mark book for me is To Kill a Mockingbird. And that's exactly what Harper Lee did. She wrote her book from the adult point of view of Scout, but then the publisher suggested that she rewrite it from the perspective of the child. I think that's kind of weird, because when you told that story, I kind of got chills, because I don't know if anybody else has anybody ever had that experience of seeing a character both young and older at the same time? I haven't, so.
I'm sure it's had to happen. I'm sure it's had to happen. I just
Well,
can't think
know,
of
but I
it.
just think it's weird that you would say that, and I would think, wow, and nobody knew that for years. I mean, until she passed away, the second book, Go Set a Watchman, didn't come out where we knew that. And everybody, a lot of people did not like the book. I loved it because I saw where she was coming from. And by you telling that story, we now can see where you're coming from. The story behind the story, that's what it is. Anybody else?
Betty would like to talk.
Okay, Betty.
Well, I had one question, and that was, as soon as I finished it, I thought, oh man, he's got to do a follow-up. I've got to find out what is going on with these people years later, you know. And then the second thing was, you said that you were influenced by your female family members. Surely none of them were as evil as a couple of these characters.
Well, I'll have to tell you, I mean, there is one character who, so it's all fiction, of course. And I think that all of my characters probably have some elements of my personality. And of course, there are composites of people that you know and people that you've experienced along the way. Are you talking about Minnie Jane?
Well, no, I've known a few of those in the
Yeah.
Southern Baptist Church. So no,
Yeah.
my thing was Cordelia, how, you know, and Marlissa, their personalities.
Yeah, I've not ever known anyone quite like them. I mean, I've known, I like Annalise, you know, have seen people and have been fascinated with people, you know, when I was a child, wondering what their lives must be like, you know, that lovely veneer. I mean, I remember, gosh, I think I was in middle school, and I won't give the family's name, but they pulled up in a Mercedes. It was a blonde mother and her two blonde daughters, and they got out of the car and the girls were going to their piano lessons. And oh my gosh, I just remember that moment so vividly, thinking, gosh, what must their lives be like, you know, to be so affluent and to be so lovely, and to just, you know, I remember seeing their ponytail swinging, and I remember just being in awe. So I think that I'm similar in that regard, fascinated with the lives of other people sometimes. And of course, as we all learn, and what the Cicada tree will tell you, is that you know, that we all wear a veneer, and then when you scratch down deeply, you know, people aren't always what they seem.
Well, I do look forward to a future book. So
Thank you. I know I've got somebody that will buy it.
And I will leave a nice review or two somewhere along the line, Goodreads and on Facebook.
Thank you, Betty.
So I haven't read the final version yet, because I just got it the other day.
Yep.
But I read the very first manuscript before you were complete. Well, I mean, I thought it was done. I mean, because it was done. But I hadn't talked to you yet. I didn't know you, hadn't met you. I read the book, and then at the very last page, I was like, whoa, I had to stop. And then I read the last chapter again. I was bawling, and then you just felt all these emotions. Like, I mean, right now I'm talking about it, and I'm getting that same feeling, that it's that coming over me. And when we first talked, and when I asked you about certain things, I don't want to give any spoilers away, and you were like, well, that's not how I saw it. And I remember thinking, yay, because I was thinking, you know, the worst of the worst. But then when I said, are you going to write another one? And you said, no, absolutely not. And then I knew you were, because I've been talking to you about this. So it's like, I'm so excited that there's going to be more. Because I love all of these characters. Everybody, Briar. It's funny, I just stuck the bookmark at a part, and it's where her mama calls Sheriff Dobson by his first name. It's the first time she's ever heard him call him by his first name. And it's like, I want more of that. I want more of that. All of it. So thank you for doing more.
Thank you.
Any more comments or questions? I'm not seeing any hands.
Oh, Sarah.
Oh, I finally figured out where that hand was hiding down there. Reactions. Anyway, yeah, there's so many things I could say about it. And I really want to see more of Etta Mae's singing turning into these beautiful visions that Annalise has. I mean, it's just so magical. But I'm wondering, there's the Southern Gothic thing. And in some of my earlier writing, I was kind of pulling on the Elizabethan tragedies of that, just like over the top tragic, the elements of the world are all coming in Shakespearean in a way. Did any of that influence you, that type of writing?
Well, I think the Cicada Tree is just sort of a combination of everything that I love, in the arts, literature, music, poetry, fashion, art. It's when I set out to write it, I thought, gosh, when you're committing to write a book, you better like what you're going to be writing, because you're going to be with it for a while. And so in regards to Southern Gothic influences, I first discovered the Gothic through the Brontes and Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre, and I referenced Jane Eyre in the Cicada Tree. And then Tennessee Williams. I think that I love it, all of his plays. And then there's one novel, The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone.
Oh my gosh, that's the favorite.
Which I think is lovely. And then Truman Capote's debut novel, Other Voices, Other Rooms, certainly, influenced me and had an impact on me. I read that as a teenager. So, but I'm not quite certain that you would say, I do believe that I sort of cross genre a bit. And I think that's just because, I just set out to write the novel that I wanted to read. And, but you definitely.
Feeling. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Do you feel like reading a little bit, Robert? Would you read a little part?
Sure. Let's see.
I mean, that trailer you did for the first day, the video you did, the last line, I was like, dang, it was good. I mean, you might be able to be, a PBS host or something. The way you just burn, the way you said that, I was just like, whoo, it was great.
Thank you. Well, so there's this passage, this is the third chapter. This is in the third chapter, and it's when Etta Mae and Annalise are together, and Annalise is describing her trip to Mistletoe, which is the plantation that's owned by the Mayfields. Let me drink some water first. Etta Mae's eyes widened and narrowed with every detail I offered of Mistletoe. It was with careful attention I described Cordelia and Marlissa Mayfield, from their exquisite dresses to the gentle wave of their luminous blonde hair. She remained silent except for those times she would exclaim, "My sweet baby Jesus," her customary expression of awe. When I finished recounting my visit, Etta Mae was the first to speak. "Were they nice to you?" Forthrightness bound the edges of our friendship, but in that moment, I let loose a corner, let it fall right out of my hand. "Yes, very nice." Why did Etta Mae need to know that Mrs. Mayfield slapped me? Why did anyone? That was a secret between the beautiful Cordelia Mayfield and me. And with inexplicable ease, I told another lie. Marlissa invited me to the party, but I couldn't go because I had to help Mama. Without any hint of jealousy, Etta Mae smiled, her amber tinted eyes filled with sincere happiness. I made a friend as lovely and impressive as Marlissa Mayfield. I knew that deep down in the ugliest corner of my soul, where I tucked away all the bad parts of me, that I would not have extended the same generosity. The sun, filtering through the leaves of the oak tree, illuminated the flecks of green in her eyes. Swimming in those shimmery pools, I began to feel the press of the lies I told. I leaned backwards to steady myself, my hands resting on the aprons. What are those for? Etta Mae caught sight of the surprise. Our party dresses. I grabbed hold of the apron, spinning around, dangling my feet over the edge of the bench and pushed off. I unfurled the aprons like sails, tightening my grip to keep them from falling into the mud. Etta Mae squealed, clapping her hands, planting her feet on a damp patch of grass. I held the aprons at arm's length to study them. One apron was for Sundays and special occasions. Mama took great care to fashion a ruffle from a remnant of fabric left over from curtains she sewed for the preacher's wife. The other, bearing the discoloration of kitchen chores, was for regular days. Etta Mae reached out for an apron, and I met her hand with the shabby one. She hesitated for a moment, then took the apron, wrapping it about her teensy waist, concealing the brown cotton dress I outgrew. Once my apron was in place, I greeted her with a curtsy. We both began to spin, our makeshift party dresses floating above our knees. Etta Mae stopped and fanned out her apron. I followed her lead. Etta Mae studied my feet. Why are you wearing shoes? I took a look at her mud-caked toes, because ladies always wear shoes. In my attempt to capture the elegant cadence of Mrs. Mayfield's speech, I inserted the slightest pause between each word. Etta Mae turned loose her apron, her smile diminishing as she looked down at herself. She wiggled her toes and flexed her feet. She began to giggle, the sound catching as winter flew. When her laughter subsided, she hummed the melody again, slowing the tempo, transforming Cordelia Mayfield's song into a melancholy waltz. We took hold of one another, spinning off around the garden, gliding about to her lovely humming. Shards of light rolled across us like a honky-tonk mirrored ball. She sang, weaving her own words into the melody. Beautiful, beautiful boy, oh where did you go? I could taste it again, Etta Mae singing, sweet and sour like the first suck of a lemon drop. Faster and faster we spun, her hands on my shoulders and mine about her waist. We were a single sinewy knot of girl. A cicada landed on my hand, then another on Etta Mae's neck. We kept spinning, neither of us afraid. Etta Mae's singing grew louder. In the rise of her voice, my legs turned warm, and I felt an urgency to tell her my secrets, that there was a good kind of hurt, to tell her I lied, that I was a nickel thief, that I could taste her sweet angel music. Louder and louder she sang, beautiful, beautiful boy. That cicada on her neck antagonized me, fluttering against my cheek. My legs burned hot, a meanness boiling my insides. Sweat beaded at my lip, and when I could take it no longer, I put my mouth to Etta Mae's ear. Anger shot through me, exploding like a canning jar. Right then I whispered the only word I could remember, the only word that was, and I shoved Etta Mae, hard and mean, to spin and tumble off beyond the oak tree and into the weeds. Patton.
That's an experience right there.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Thank you for listening.
Speech.
We're all just kind of,
How much have you read? What is your, I mean, what do you read a lot?
I don't, and I can tell you that, and this is all very much a new experience for me. You know, it's not within the last couple of years that I even felt comfortable saying that I was a writer. You know, I guess I equated, and you shouldn't equate being a writer with just publication, but I've gotten better at reading. I've learned to breathe and to slow my pace, and it's been a learning curve. And I've had good people who've helped me along the way and who provided guidance. I do read aloud in my writing process. I'll write a few paragraphs. I'll read it out loud. I'll even record myself reading the words aloud, it is very helpful. But I've not had a lot of experience reading my own work, and I'm trying to think. I think the only time I've done it has been on, I've not done it live in front of anyone. It's just been maybe in some podcast interviews.
Well, you better get ready.
That's right.
You better get used to it. You're going to be doing it a lot.
Do you mind telling the story about how sometimes you get away to go write and you went to this cabin and
Oh, yeah.
the
And
story
well,
about you reading into the microphone? Man, when I heard this story and I still have chills over it.
well, it's creepy. So I went away last April to work on the other project that I was working on, In That Quiet Earth. And it's the chapter that appeared in Work in Progress. And so I don't know if y'all have heard of those getaway cabins, but they have these outposts, and they have an outpost in Atlanta. And there's one up in the mountains just outside of Atlanta that maybe it's like 2 hours outside of the city. And so one night, I mean, I'd been writing all day long, and it was just a lot of emotional energy going into that particular chapter. And in this story, the protagonist is a ghost named Samuel. And so that night, I lit candles, there's this huge picture window in these little cabins, and I lit candles, and the sun was starting to go down, and I was reflecting back over what I had written that day. And so I decided that I would record it. So I recorded it. I think maybe it was 3 minutes of reading. And so I went to play it back, and you hear me begin to read the sentence, and then my voice stops, but the recording's still going. And you hear this really creepy under noise, like,
Oh my.
I've never had anything like that happen before. So it really freaked me out.
He played it for Mandy and I got to hear it, and I said, oh my God, I would have packed up the car and gotten.
Yeah, it was frightening. Yeah.
It was Samuel.
Yeah, Samuel. Yeah, maybe it was Samuel.
You
never know.
So, writing the Cicada Tree, who was your favorite character to write when you were writing there? Who was your favorite?
Well, I think that I was most fascinated with Cordelia Mayfield. And I knew you don't hear her talk a lot throughout. And I knew that I wanted to be intentional and just give glimpses of her. But I knew how that last chapter would go, and I couldn't wait to get to those moments, where she could tell her story. So, I mean, I loved all the characters. I think you have to have respect for all of them in order to pull them off, even the awful ones. Unless someone's a sociopath, everyone has redeeming qualities. And I tried to understand who they were. I think that though I understood the sort of person that Minnie Jean is, the church organist, I think I liked her least.
Mhm.
She was hard to like.
What did your family think about the book when they read it?
So they have not read it yet. I go home to Cairo, Georgia this Friday, and there's going to be an event at the Roddenberry Memorial Library in my hometown, the library that I went to when I was a boy. And so there'll be a Q&A. There's a young woman that works there who read the book, and my mother has invited my old high school English teachers. I'm going to see classmates who I've not seen since 1987. Family. It's going to be quite an interesting day. Probably very Southern Gothic.
I hope you'll write that story. I want to read it.
But my mom and dad, I don't know that they really knew what to make of it. Now they're excited now that it's out into the world, and that they know that people are saying kind things about it. I think my mother was worried that what I was writing, is it going to be something that might embarrass her, or are they going to be able to see themselves in any of these characters? And my dad is not a reader, but he called me the other day. And he said, your Aunt Margaret just called. She's read your book. She read it in 2 days and she was blown away. And so that impressed him. And they were also impressed that I made the Cairo Messenger, the local paper in my hometown.
Oh, that's
exciting.
sweet.
But everyone's supportive. My brother Chris, who's the second, I'm the oldest of 4 boys. My brother Chris is after me, and he's a huge supporter. He's been a huge cheerleader, and he knows enough about the characters and what he's read in bits and pieces to he concocted, he created this
The
Cicada
drink.
tree cocktail with we recorded a video with him at the holidays, just talking about the ingredients, walking you through how you go about making the cicada. And, you know, in each ingredient represented a character. And he did it beautifully. And that was very touching.
So Suzanne Kamada has a question or a comment.
So I haven't read the book yet. I'm looking forward to starting it this weekend. But I'm always curious about the publication journey and like how you wound up with Moonshine Cove Publishing, and if you'd be willing to share that.
Sure. So I initially wasn't sure that I was going to attempt to get an agent. I just thought, well, you know what, I think maybe I'll start with just going with publishers that don't require an agent. But I thought, well, you know what, I'll attempt to get an agent. And so I found an agent, and he took me out on submission, and it was a curious time. First couple of months, it was pre-pandemic. Then we went into shelter in place. The people that passed on the novel, I mean, I've been rejected by the biggest names in publishing, and they've all had nice things to say. And I never heard the same thing twice, you know, so it's also very subjective. All of us know that. So then, in the midst of the pandemic, you know, our country experienced a period of social unrest, and a lot of attention directed at the South, you know, rightfully so. And I think that there was one large publisher that was looking at it, and the editor was really excited about it. And she was hoping to get it through. I think that, and it didn't happen, and we were very certain that it would. But I think that people at that time, we were just off of the heels of the whole American Dirt controversy. And I think that people were kind of frightened of Southern novels. And I was really scared myself. I was thinking, gosh, is this the death of Southern fiction? Will this book never make it out into the world? And I just, you know, I'll be 53 in April, and I had conversations with my agent. I said, listen, I think, you know, I know that we've not found a home for the cicada tree yet, but I would really like to look at smaller presses. And of course, you know, he wasn't keen on that for the obvious reasons, you know, but he supported it. And so because I told him, I think that he wanted me to wait, come out with the next novel, and then find a home for that, and then say, okay, look, we've got the cicada tree here too. Maybe we would like that as well. And I just felt like I needed to get the career going. I wanted this novel out into the world. I wanted to begin to build a readership. And I submitted it to several presses and got a lot of interest, and that all happened very quickly. And I think that that's a really great thing. I mean, not that I wouldn't enjoy an experience with a larger publisher, but this experience has been very positive for me, and they've been very supportive. And I think that one of the perks of working with a smaller press is that you have greater level of creative input. You know, everything from the cover to, you know, me being able to pitch an epilogue. And I think that when it's all said and done, the work is all on our shoulders, regardless of whether you're with a large press or small press. We have to do the work to get the word out into the universe. And there's so much noise out there, and it's so challenging. I think that things worked out the way that they were supposed to for me this first time around, and I'm very much at peace with that. So that's how that's how my novel has made it out into the world.
And let's hope it has big wings and flies
Mhm.
far. I mean, it's in Japan, right, Suzanne? You've
It's in
got that.
Japan.
Yes, I'm gonna take it with me on our trip. We're going to Tokyo and we're gonna stop by Mount Fuji, so I'll take pictures.
Oh, I would
along the way.
love that. That is awesome.
That's so sweet. Oh, you guys remember that kindness. That is so sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really great. Well, Baseball Widow will be coming up. Robert, can you top that?
No.
I mean, what have you got in Atlanta? Get her on CNN. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Anybody else want to jump in with a comment or a question? Yes, Eileen.
Robert, I am just so impressed with the book. I want to wish you some just great congratulations. When I only got up to the 3rd chapter, the part you just read, and from the very start reading it, I was 11. I was right there. I was one of those girls. It just spoke to me who I was at that age. And I have a granddaughter that age, and she spent the weekend with us. And it was just perfect. And I fell in love with Annalise already and the characters. And my question to you is, as you've just described, this has been ready for some years now, probably at least 2 years.
At least two, yeah, maybe going into like 2.5 years, yeah.
And so, and your writing is just gorgeous, just beautiful. Every sentence, it's just wonderful. But I want to know how long it took you from start to having it ready to go. How did that happen?
The actual production of the Cicada Tree from inception to last edit.
The writing of it, just really the creation and how that do those sentences just fall out of your?
No. No. I think what I always hear, I go into a chapter knowing what the flow will be, and I can sort of hear the rhythm of the words. It's just a matter of finding the words. But no, I think that, and I have a sense of what how I would like it to sound and how I would like it to flow, and it's just sort of trying to find those words. So no, I mean it's I won't say that I'm passionate about writing. It's but those sentences just don't. The spirit of them do. And then of course, as you all know, I mean, novels are written in revision. And I have a really bad habit of wanting to edit as I go, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And I think that that's one thing that both Mickey and Jeff, that frustrates them, because I won't let go of the pages until I feel really comfortable with them. And because I'm insecure, basically, I don't want people to see awful writing. But I work really, really hard at it. Trying to get I'm obsessed with the beat, and the pacing and the tempo of the writing, and I know it's right when I hear it. And I would say that I don't know, if you were to condense, because the Cicada Tree was, I was learning a lot, and I was teaching myself, and I was learning from others, and I was studying, and I would start and stop, and probably if you condensed it down, the time that I spent, I mean, maybe 5 years of concentrated work on the Cicada Tree. I think it's my hope. I would love to be able to have a manuscript completed by this time next year. That's the goal. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get my behind back in the writing chair soon. Because when I'm not writing,
Yeah.
I don't feel quite myself. And of course, getting ready to get the novel out into the world has been a lot of work. So I've not been able to write, but I'm ready.
Oh,
All right, we've got some more people. So Kathleen has got a question or a comment.
Robert, I haven't had a
Kathleen.
chance to read it, but I just want to congratulate you on 3 things. Claire Fullerton's amazing review in the New York Journal. I think I said that right. Another review in Southern Literary Review, and the review and write-up in the am I saying it right? Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Yeah, so that was an Arts Atlanta review that was accepted into the AJC. I don't know exactly how that works, but yeah, I mean, well, first of all, when I saw Claire's review, I didn't know she was doing it, and it was a huge surprise, and it's just so beautifully done. I mean, what a gift to have a fellow author who read your work and loves it enough to be able to write about it in the New York Journal of Books. My goodness. And it's just overwhelming to hear people say kind things about the work, because I don't know. I mean, how do you know if your work's any good? I don't really know. I guess you can suspect it might be. It sure is lovely to hear that other people love it, because I hope that they would.
Okay, TK.
Thanks. Robert, I clued in when you said that you hear the rhythm of how you want the chapter to go. And I was just wondering, music plays a part in this book, a big part. And I was wondering, how is music part of your life? And have you always heard? Is it auditory primarily for you? For me, it's usually visual, what I see.
It's a combination, but I always sort of hear a soundtrack. I have to life. I always sort of imagine life to music, and then visual too. But music, I'm a lover of music. I don't consider myself to be a musician, but I admire people who are really good at it. I from the 6th grade up through high school, I was in the marching band and the concert band, played the trombone. I'm a failed pianist. I took 1 year and I was a disaster, but I always had a love of people who have extraordinary abilities, violinists, pianists, dancers, anyone who can tell a story in different ways. There are many ways you can tell a story. It doesn't have to necessarily be through words. And I think it's interesting to be able to figure out a way to use all of those mediums in telling your story in the written word.
I don't know if anybody has seen the pictures, but Robert shared a photo of when he was the drum major for Florida State, and he had the big hair. I'm telling you,
Big hair.
Big hair. And I was a band kid, so I understand. I cannot hear a John Philip Sousa song and I stand up and salute the flag, but I think those things that are instilled when you're young, that maybe that's where you get that beat. You were leading the band, Florida State, y'all. That's pretty amazing, I think.
Well, no, not at Florida State. No, I did
in high school.
Yeah, the Cairo High School syrup maker marching band.
Syrup maker?
Yeah.
What is that all about?
So in Cairo, Georgia, there was the Roddenberry family, and they owned a Roddenberry Pickle Company, and that's really sort of where I got the idea for the Mayfield Pickle Company, because I worked there one summer in the pickle factory when I was 15, and they also made syrup. That was in Cairo, Georgia. So our football team is the Cairo Syrup Makers, and it's a peculiar name, I know. It made the
you couldn't make that up. You couldn't make that up.
And I think that Sports Illustrated listed it as one of the most unique high school football team names. one year.
Wow, syrup makers. Yep, that's a trip.
Frightening.
That's,
Uh,
All right, so Beverly has a question or a comment.
okay.
Hey, Robert, I haven't read your book yet. I'm looking forward to it. And I kind of, after reading The Quiet Earth and then the passages that you just read, I feel like when I hear you read and I read your works, my heart's just like pounding like the whole time. So I know when I start, I will just start reading all the way through. But you said something very interesting about the New York publishers or the big publishers, and maybe they didn't want to take on Southern writers or fiction. I found that really very, very interesting because I was on a Zoom thing, an Authors Guild thing, like a couple of months ago. And I can't remember now who it was, but the question was like, what is Southern fiction? And what is Southern Gothic fiction? And it was like, everybody was like talking about this, right? They weren't quite sure what it was, but it felt like to me, and they said, well, after all, we don't have like Northeastern fiction. We don't have Vermont fiction. I mean, but we have Southern fiction and we have Southern writers. And it's like, they're all fascinated. It's like they're drawn to this thing that they don't really know what it is, but they love it and they know it's good, but they're also afraid of it. I mean, that's just the kind of the sense that I got. And I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
I know that I think that it's cyclical. I mean, I think that I think New York probably has an opinion about some Southern fiction. I mean, I think that there's a home for it. I think that there are those publishers, those editors out there that are looking for it, that really want it. But when is the right time and what's the right story for them? So it's hard to know. I mean, I'm hopeful. I think that that there'll always be a place for Southern fiction. I think that's what I'm hoping for.
So,
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
so Jacob has another question or comment.
Hey, Robert, I just want to say your novel 20 years from now, 30 years from now is going to be put up with like the greats like Dickens and Faulkner and Tennessee Williams. Have any of those, have you been influenced by any of those writers per se?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of my all-time favorite characters is a Dickens character, and it's Miss Havisham. I was just fascinated with her as a boy when I read Great Expectations. This jilted woman who's aged and let the years fly by, and she lives her days in this tattered old wedding gown, and and is all she wants to do is make men miserable. She adopts young Estella. I was fascinated with the tragedy of that character, and then of course the trajectory of her character and the regret that she feels at the end for having done what she did. So yeah, definitely influenced by all of those wonderful authors. And thank you for saying what you said, Jacob. That's very sweet.
You're welcome. But I actually really mean it. I'm just not saying to say it.
Thank you. I think Georgina had her hand up.
Yeah, she's next. She's right there with you.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Georgina.
Hey, so it's so cool to finally talk to you since we met through that Facebook 2021 group. Is that how we met?
Yes.
Okay. So just a shout out from the whole group. We're so proud of you. We're so excited about your book, and just so proud of you. And my comment is that congratulations, but also I still want you to come decorate my house.
Okay. Absolutely.
Like if y'all can see, okay, there's a reflection in the wind. We still have our Christmas tree up. So every time I go on Facebook, I'm like, I got to see Robert's picture so I can see your just your decor is amazing. So, if the book writing, which I hope will continue, but if it were to ever get boring to you, you could just design all of our houses.
Absolutely. Georgina is a wonder. I mean, she's got she has children, she's at basketball games, she's a mom on the go, and she writes in this tiny little sort of basement space that she's carved out for herself.
Yeah, right in the tornado shelter of our house, because it's the only, we have a combined family of 4 boys. So it's the only way I can get away from everyone. And when everybody starts cutting their grass, so I'm under the stairs. But yeah. Anyway, congrats, Robert.
Thank you, Georgina. Thank you for coming on here tonight. What a great surprise.
Betty sent me the link, was like, you got to do it. So yeah, thank you, Betty.
Thank you,
I
Betty.
wanted to surprise him.
Well, it was a lovely surprise.
James Martin.
Yeah, I'm on 2 spots here because I'm on an old-fashioned desktop that doesn't have the camera and all that. So that's why I am, where am I? I'm right up there.
There you are.
Side by side.
There we
I'm
go.
at page 188 and I'm already kind of getting sorry about finishing it, although I'm anxious to get a review out and I'll get it to a lot of places. What you read with Annalise that I really liked was the fact that she has guilt, the fact that she sees her own meanness, you know, it's very cool. And there's humor. You have enough humor in it, you know, don't put yourself down as far as humor. I'm finding it probably in every chapter. Yeah, and is it Victoria Fenton? Is that her name?
Yes, Victoria.
Yeah, she's
Virginia Fenton.
Virginia.
Fenton.
Yeah, she's a character. Just congratulations. It's really a wonder.
Thank you for reading it.
Yeah.
I have one question. I had to flip to the back. I knew I had seen that you were one of 4 boys, and I'm thinking, surely there was a sister in there somewhere. He had to have known a little girl like this.
I didn't know. I don't have. I have a sad story. I mean, there was a sister after me who was born with spina bifida who didn't live for long. So there are actually 5 children. So the second child in the family was a little girl. But I had I spent a lot of time with girls. I played with girls. So I had a lot of female friends. So I understood the dynamic of playground politics amongst young girls and women.
Yeah, and that really comes across how you understand that sort of passionate love between Edda May and Annalise that is so true of those girl kind of, I don't know, call them crushes really, but yeah, the way they interact, it's just beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, this was a good one.
Yes, it
It
was.
was, Robert. Robert, tell us what's going on with everything. You know, you've got quite a schedule. You've been several places. Give us kind of a recap and where you're going.
So this Saturday is Cairo, Georgia. Tim and I are going to go home to see my family for the weekend, and there'll be an event at the Roddenberry Memorial Library on Saturday. Yeah, there's some podcasts and things that are scheduled, some Facebook takeovers. So what I'm really excited about is that Pat Conroy Literary Center is sponsoring an event that's going to take place at Nevermore Books, and I'm really excited about that. Ms. Bryn McLean is going to she's reading the book, and I'm terrified. I hope she likes it. And she's
gonna love it.
Great.
And she's going to interview me on March 24th. So I get to go to Beaufort. I've never visited the Pat Conroy Literary Center. I'm a huge fan of his work, and I'm sure it will be a very emotional experience for me. And then I was invited. I'm going to take a day trip, a night trip to New York the following week to read in the Bowery at this art center with 2 other writers. So I'm really excited. I can't believe that I'm actually going to be in New York City and actually get to read something. So I'm going to fly there that morning, and then I'll come back the following day.
What other authors are you going to be with?
Oh my gosh. So I posted it on Facebook, and I've just met them. I quickly, they paired me with 2 women, which is perfect. And I think they have, but both of them are novelists, and I apologize, I do not have their names. So that's happening. I've got an opportunity in May to, there are lots of little things. There's hometown author night that's going to take place in May. I'm going to the Boone County Literary Festival. There's this really cool event where they like during the day, they're going to have actors who will portray scenes from your novel, and that night I'm one of 3 authors that was selected to be highlighted in a concert. And the excerpt, so it will, each of us will read a passage from our novel, and then we have been paired with a song inspired from the work.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that will probably be a very emotional experience as well. So there are a few live appearances, and I'm still working on trying to figure out, maybe there's some other opportunities. Betty's going to try to help me get to Alabama, which I would love to do.
And Nashville, if we can get you there too.
I would love to. I will go anywhere.
New Orleans, you need to get to the Tennessee Williams. You would fit in that Southern Gothic, perfect. That's where Rosemary James or Bev Marshall, we need to get you down there. That's the place you need to go. That would be perfect for you. So yeah, we'll work on those things. So it's hard because of COVID, but it's going to open up. It's going to open up. Just keep every time you do an event, share it, and other people will want to do an event. So keep it going, and we'll help you. So
thank you. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. For those of you that bought my book and that have read the book and that are reading the book, I feel so grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert. We're very excited. It's
Ruthie
so
has
funny.
one more thing she wants to say.
Who?
Ruthie.
Okay, Ruthie.
Oh, there it is. Did you just look at fashion magazines like crazy? I mean, every gown was described. I mean, especially, Cordelia's. What did you do? Did you have visual things in front of you?
Yes. So I did a lot of research on Christian Dior and what was known as the New Look, which took place in the 1950s. And I would put her in gowns that he actually designed. So there is this one cool part of the story at the at this talent show that takes place, and the gown that Marlissa wears was sort of a modern Christian Dior that was featured in a Vogue magazine some years ago. So I used real fashion design as points of reference for what I dressed Cordelia in, which was a lot of fun.
It was amazing. And even how, besides your description of them, how you could imagine the fabric moving. And I just was blown away by that. I mean, just the texture of the fabric, and, how when they would move, how it would sweep on the floor or not. It was just another one of the amazing details that I was blown away by. So
thank you.
And for those of you that don't know, Robert is my co-host for the Book and Film Club. So right now he's out doing all these things, but when he gets, are you going to be in this Saturday or not? I didn't think you would.
Yeah, I'll be in Cairo.
Yeah, I thought so. So when you get done with this touring and everything, you'll be back joining us every Saturday night at 6:30. And I picked out some new films, so I'm going to be getting those up. And it's just amazing to me that in 2021, you showed up at our book club convention, did not know you at all. But you were at every single panel and you were joining the conversations and you were so articulate and you had lots of questions and comments. And now you've got a book, you're part of the Pulpwood Queen Dream Team. We're really proud of you, Robert. And I think the show of everybody coming tonight is showing all the Pulpwood Queen and Timber Guy love. So thank you. Remember that, everybody. Do it for everyone, because I can't imagine how you must feel right now to have this many people here tonight on a Tuesday, so.
I feel a lot of love and I'm feeling a lot of gratitude. So I'm just so thankful that y'all took a chance on my debut novel. Everyone's just been so lovely, and I have so many new friends, and this has made, this journey so much more lovely than it would have been otherwise. So thank you, everyone. I think that River's raising her hand.
I do. I can't figure out how to do the hand raising thing.
Reactions at the bottom.
So love you, Robert. I haven't finished the book, but very few people can post a sentence or two where I go, dang, why didn't I write that? I mean, and I said, dang, why didn't I write that too? That's like perfection. And why didn't I write that one? So, just like a grabby little hungry author here, writer wanting to steal your words and remouth them. And, but I'm not going to do that, of course, right? I'm not going to do that. And I wondered, Jim Carrey was on something talking about his power for visualization, and Oprah, and of course you guys may not be fans of either one of those, but I look at people, and then I look at the fanship that your debut novel has birthed, like immediately with the book coming out. And I wondered, did you like manifest that into being? Did you visualize lying in bed?
It's interesting you say that. From the time that I was a little boy, and I wanted anything badly, I always would envision myself getting it, and the process of how it would look and how it would feel when I reached that moment. So anything that's significant that's ever happened in my life, I've worked really hard for, but I've always envisioned it, and I'm a huge believer in manifesting your dreams through imagining all of the sights and sounds and feels that comes with accomplishing it. So yes, I hoped the best for this novel. I hoped that all of you would like me and that you would love my novel, and you and you all showed up. So I believe in that.
This is just the beginning. You're gonna have so many more people, obviously, that do the same. But it also shows me what I've been doing wrong all my life. Being the kid that was like, oh my God, I was raised by a tribe of Eeyores, and told repeatedly I was born on Wednesday, and that Wednesday's child is full of woe, only to discover years later I was born on Friday. So, it's just, what the heck, man. And also, I'm never inviting you to my house, because I've seen yours, and I've seen yours, and I've seen yours, and all that. And as I tell everybody, I would love to, but I live in the ramshackle, and I'm not a good housekeeper on my best days. And I'm like, oh my God, Robert would just be beside himself to come into this place. But from afar, I'll meet you in Nashville, where it's cool stuff, right? Otherwise, I'd open my doors, but I think it would give you the heebie-jeebies. Congratulations. I just want to say congratulations again. You have done one of the greatest jobs of rolling out a debut novel, writing and rolling it out, and reaching out to people and supporting other writers I've ever seen from a debut novelist. So congratulations.
Thank you.
We can all learn from Robert, and I'm just proud of you, Robert, and we're going to continue to do so tomorrow. You know, we're looking forward to your blogs this week. It's going to be so exciting, but I can't leave tonight without sharing something about Mandy. Mandy Haynes had one of her stories made into a theater production on Amelia Island, and she wasn't going to go, and she went. And Mandy, you got to tell what happened when you went to. They acted out her story.
They did four stories. Yeah, 4 stories. I got a standing ovation. It was the coolest thing ever.
I'm so proud of you, Mandy, for going, because she goes, oh, I don't want to go. And I go, go. I'm so glad you went. And the fact that, you know, I love that they're putting music to your works. These are collaborations of different arts that I think just enhances what we do. You know, I hear the music that you're talking about. I see it visually, and it would be a great film. So thank you all. Mandy, congratulations. Robert, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And tomorrow, can you give us a tease of what we're going to hear from you tomorrow?
I think that I probably will talk a little bit about what I did tonight regarding my female characters.
Great. And don't leave the week without sharing that video of your brother doing that drink.
Oh, absolutely.
That is absolutely the most brilliant thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, everybody wants their book to have a drink, right? I do, and I don't even drink. So, you know, but I love the Cicada whiskey drink. So thank you again. God bless you. Have a wonderful time in Cairo. I want a full report. And everybody, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
This is what makes us so, you know, each of these events so special is your participation. So good night, everybody. Good
Love
night.
y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
My little cicada is buzzing back to the jewelry box. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.